holiday weekend this particular time, but whatever. Can't please everybody.
All right. Can everybody see my slide online? Just somebody give me a quick shout because I can't see the chat or anything anymore.
Yep, we can see it.
Thank you, thank you. All right, everybody. Well, welcome to the May edition of our Twin Cities Tableau user group. Tableau recognizes it formally as the Minneapolis Tableau user group. We actually did a survey of the members and like, do you guys want to be in Minneapolis or should we keep it as Twin Cities? And it was like overwhelmingly people wanted to be the Twin Cities. So that's how we self-identify, regardless of what Tableau thinks. If you guys don't know me, I'm Serena Roberts. I've been one of the core people running this group for the last like 8 years. We were just talking about. I am one of the co-founders of Moxie Analytics, based here in the Twin Cities as well. Today's agenda, welcome, check that off the list. I think largely we're going to focus on just highlights from the conference today. I'll share with you some of my experience. We've got Nkosi. I'm not even going to try your last name.
That's all right.
I'll let you handle that one. Did you graduate yet, or are you still?
No, I just finished my first year.
Okay, first year. So he's a student at one of the big colleges here in the Twin Cities called St. Thomas, and he was one of the Student IronViz finalists this year, and so he got to actually go up on stage during IronViz live competition, and talk to tens of thousands of people. And so I thought, hey, he is one, a native here. We gotta bring him on and have him tell us what that experience was like, and if it's anything like the IronViz competition that we all see and love and fear, if you're me. And then Jim, co-organizer of the Tableau user group, Jim Van Sistine from Doherty Business Solutions. That's the building that we're in right now. So thanks to Doherty for continuing to let us use this space pretty much whenever we need it. Because Lord knows y'all ain't here. And then like anyone else, like Stephen, I know you were there. I would love for you to share, some of your key takeaways. If anybody attended online, like watched anything live, virtually, or even just got into some of the great sessions that they've made available on the Salesforce On Demand. Hi, come on in. Hi. Good. And then if we have time, we could do some group therapy. If you guys aren't familiar with what that is like if anybody's stuck with a sticky Tableau challenge and they're just not quite sure how to handle it, or maybe if they're wondering if they're handling it in a best practice way, or maybe there's a more efficient way and would like to kind of talk through that problem. You don't have to share data. You don't have to share anything, proprietary. Just kind of talk us through enough of the problem for us to understand it and give some potential solutions. I also do have some just backup content in the way of like just common mistakes and problems that people make in Tableau and how to address them. So we've got some flex in our agenda. We are going to try to shoot for ending at 4 o'clock. Maybe we'll end earlier. And then for those of you that are here and would like to join us, we're going to go downstairs to Kincaid's and have some food and drinks and stuff. So actually, one thing that's not on the agenda that we always do is get to know a member. And that is where, oh, hold on. I'll finish explaining that and then we'll just quickly talk about our rules of engagement. Get to know members, like there's 5 or 6 questions. We take a volunteer from the audience here in person or virtually, or I will pick you if no one volunteers. And just to, introduce yourself and say hello, because this is all about getting to know people and recognizing faces. And glad you can make it. And because that's really how we feel part of this community, right? Instead of just being like, oh, strangers. Like, there's only probably two faces in this room that I have never seen before. So yeah, so maybe I will call on one of the two of you so you guys can feel more part of this community. All right, so really quick, I have decided that we're gonna use this slide each time we meet, just because it's a good reminder of how to be good stewards of this community, give credit where credit is due. We, praise publicly and often, right? When you see someone doing something cool or amazing, even if it's like not that cool and amazing compared to other stuff, but like recognizing where people are at in their journey and letting them know that like, hey, you're on the right track. You're doing great. That like compared to where I was 2 months in, you're doing awesome. So that kind of positivity is core to this community. But constructive feedback is important for growth. We just ask that you guys do that in private, right? Rather than blast that out on LinkedIn. Most people don't need to be told that, but it's happened enough times to where like, let's just remind people. It's okay to do that in the right spirit, but do that in private. And then as always, just continue to share your knowledge. Even if you're new, somebody is newer, right? So you do have valuable information to share. Upcoming events, and these are, sorry for those of you guys that are online and like not local. These are all local with the exception of the last one. So June 4th, we have our She Talks Data event with Taija Kushner. There's only 4 spots left in that event, so it's on Meetup. You can sign up there. Our next TCTUG meeting will be June 27th. That's going to be in person only. So again, sorry to my hybrid people. We are likely not going to have any actual content. That's going to be purely social. So rooftop, summer vibes. Probably, we'll most definitely have some alcohol and food, and that's going to be hosted and sponsored by Data Drive, which is another local consulting firm here. And then just like quick plug for the advanced Tableau bootcamp that the Flurridge twins are putting on in September through Moxie Analytics.
So where is that?
The Bridgewater Bank is in St. Louis Park. Yeah. So maybe more convenient for some, less convenient for people who live in Lakeville like me, but I'll still be there. If anybody has questions about that boot camp, just message me, come up to me, whatever. I'm happy to answer anything, any questions you might have. And so this is not all like the Serena show. If anybody else has any events that they know of that are data related that they want to talk about, share with the group, or announcements. Maybe you're looking for a role. Maybe you're hiring for a role. Now's the moment. Now's your moment to shine. Just unmute yourself and holler. Or if you are shy, you can put it in the chat or message me later and I'll share it out.
Mini Analytics has their data tech event
Yes.
on the 7th, June 7th.
Okay, thank you. I am an idiot for not putting that on there. Good call.
Is this the one at Best Buy?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was just for anybody that didn't hear. Mini Analytics is putting on a conference called Data Tech, June 7th in Bloomington at the Best Buy headquarters. So should be good. Anybody have anything else? I'm just gonna check the chat real quick because I can't see it. This is the downside of operating on one screen. Okay, chat's good. Let me hop back over here. All right. You guys can still see my screen, right? Online folks. You're looking at some questions, I hope. So how about we take one person from in the room and one person online to answer these questions. And you don't have to follow this super strictly. It's just to give you some structure. And so you don't, your mind isn't blank when you get up there. Any volunteers from the room? All right, let's take Gretchen. Paul, you can go too, but let's do Gretchen first. Come on up here. just so people can see you.
Hello, I'm Greta. I work for a shoe company called J. Renee Shoes, and it's out of Carrollton, Texas. We've been using Tableau for about 8 years now, and I'm an analyst for the company. Yeah. We're analyzing anything from like factory orders, figuring out what sizes and widths to order, to just looking at sales year over year for customers. We do our finances in Tableau. Inventory we keep track of. We pretty much use Tableau to run our company. So we have like homegrown systems that my boss built like 40 years ago. And so we're pulling data from all of those into SQL and then into Ultrex and eventually into Tableau and use that to analyze all the information. So it's been very helpful for them because, yeah, their reports were very old school before that. And they could only look at, one part of the business at a time, whereas now we can pull in like orders, invoices, and inventory all into the same dashboard, along with like images of our shoes, which has been really helpful for like our product team, because the sales team knows the names of all the shoes and the product team has no idea. So they're like, images, please. And so it's been really nice since they added like the image role to be able to have that. Yes. Yeah. Before that, we were using Picture This, which still is helpful in a lot of places. But yeah, the image role was helpful. What's my favorite new feature?
Image roll.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fairly new. Yeah. So we can say that. And then top feature wish. I feel like moving containers around in a dashboard is not super easy on desktop. Online, it's not as bad, but I pretty much always work in desktop, and it'd be nice, like on the panel on the left, if you could just drag things where you wanted them to go, because you can click on it and it highlights it in the dashboard, but then you have to like maneuver it around, and it can take a long time sometimes. So yeah.
Headache. All right, and I'm sorry, I feel like I called you Gretchen
That
twice.
is my real name.
Okay,
So yeah,
that just
that works.
feel like probably only your mom calls you that. All right, let's take someone from online, and then we'll have Paul come up. So does it I'm gonna give 10 seconds for someone to unmute themselves, and then I will go through the list and pick.
This is Betsy Landon from New Hampshire. I'm not from Minneapolis, but is it okay if I can introduce myself if you want? So I really appreciate your holding this session. And I'm a marketing data analyst for Extreme Networks. We are headquartered out of North Carolina, but we are a public company. We're best known, I guess, for we are the Wi-Fi network for NFL and MLB, NHL, but that's not all we do. We're also any wide area network. So healthcare, municipalities, education, any large companies that have big networks. So we are the Wi-Fi networks for those companies. We sell software and hardware. So I'm analyzing mostly Salesforce data that is extracted from Salesforce using Incorda. So IT is creating Incorda data sources, and then I am analyzing the ROI of marketing. That's my primary role. I've been using Tableau for about 4 years, and I still feel like I'm a beginner because I'm not an expert at SQL. I just play a SQL developer on TV. So, and I don't have anybody internally that I can go to for help. So we actually use Interworks. We have their desktop support for that. So when I get really stuck, I go to them. But I really wish I've heard about mentor programs. I would love to find a mentor that would help me because I've taken the training, the beginner and intermediate training. I came within 6 points of getting certified, and after taking the test twice, and I took the course to study for the test as well. So it came really close. But yeah, it's difficult. My favorite new feature, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I am in agreement with the last person that spoke.
Right.
top feature, making it easier to create dashboards and working with the containers and dashboards.
Awesome.
And I would love to meet other marketing data analysts, other people that analyze similar data. I would love to share ideas if there's anybody out there.
Yeah. Does anybody know if, because some of the user groups are industry specific, I feel like there's got to be a marketing one. Anybody know? Jim's looking it up. So Becky, if we can't find the answer for you, if you search through the list of user groups on Tableau's website,
Okay.
there might be a marketing specific one.
Great.
And that-
I will do that.
That kind of like the industry specific and the ones that aren't based on location, they've been new because that really wasn't an option until COVID. And that really just kind of blew this whole thing out of the water, because before then they were very specific, geography specific. You couldn't even attend online. Like, it just wasn't a thing.
Right.
Find it?
That's great. Thank you.
I did put one in the chat.
Okay.
There's a marketing and market research user group.
Okay. Yep. That's the one that Josh Wilson runs with Steve Wexler, I think.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
Great. I will definitely check that out. Thank you very much.
this last month. So.
Okay. Cool. Yep. In the chat. Well, wonderful. Nice to meet you, Betsy. Thank you for being here. Okay. Paul, do you want to come up?
Sure.
Hi, everyone. My name is Paul Hauer. I recently found out about this group because I was actually sitting next to Serena on the flight out to the conference. And I didn't even know these existed until that was my first conference going to. I've been using Tableau for about 2.5 years now. I work for a cybersecurity company called Arctic Wolf, just on the road that way in Eden Prairie. I am a BI developer is the title. We have a BI team of 3. And so that means that it's not really just BI development. We do data engineering, pipelining into database administration, into data visualization, along with permissioning and everything. So we use Fivetran and AWS Lambda to pull our data into Snowflake and then do visualization on top of our data in Snowflake. And so really the data that we analyze is any business application data. So when we think of Arctic Wolf, we have our product data. That is our core cybersecurity customer data. We don't touch that just because they have very strict rules around who can see that data, just because it's very sensitive. So any business application data, Workday, interviewing software, Salesforce, NetSuite is kind of in our scope of work. And so, like I said, I've been using it for about 2.5 years. My favorite new feature, specifically coming out of the conference, they were talking about the visualization extensions that are coming, and that's going to be pretty awesome to be able to see not only what other users are creating, but Tableau themselves. They can certify. I think the one that they use is like the Sankey diagram all the time of doing that. I don't know if anybody's built one using like some online tutorial of how to do it, and it is just a royal pain. And it's just not flexible at all. And so excited to see what they do with that. My favorite, or my top feature wish, I was just doing a presentation with one of our financial analysts that is starting to use Tableau. And as I was going through this hour long, there are those special quirks to Tableau that you hit a wall and they ask you a question and it's like, it's not really a possibility, or there's a workaround. But I think probably what I would like to see most is an improved scaling for dashboard sizing. I think that we use fixed sizing just because when somebody unplugs and plugs their laptop into a bigger screen, sometimes, and maybe I'm just doing this wrong, but it seems like there's an opportunity there for maybe other competitors might do this a little bit better, where when you plug into a bigger screen, either the size of it goes massive and the text stays really small, or vice versa. And so that seems like an opportunity that we run into a lot. So
Yeah, is there a if I remember right, you can set like a min-max, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen the range.
The ranges. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we've tried that, and it seems like every monitor that people plug into is a little different.
Yeah, 100%.
And so-
I mean, you've got, resolution, display
Yeah.
settings, whether they're on a browser and the browser's like magnification. There's just variables. You're never gonna get it perfect.
So we usually just default to saying, this is what the size is, and you can hit the maximize button if you need to. But thanks for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for sitting next to me on the plane.
I totally chose that.
Right. Well, I did choose my seat. I just didn't know you were gonna be there. Okay, awesome. Well, since we did 2 in the room, I'm just gonna offer up one more get to know member from online. So we're treating everyone fairly. I'm not gonna force anybody, but if there's anyone with a burning desire to unmute and say hello, here's your moment. Okay. Alrighty. So let me stop sharing, go to a different screen. Bear with me for just one moment. Let's see. All right, this is a Google slide deck. It's like essentially the canned package deck that Tableau put together for TUGs to use, because we're almost every single one of us is doing a conference recap this month or whatever their next meeting is after the conference. I'm not a Google slide user, so if I mess this up, like, please just give me a little bit of grace. But let's put this into slideshow. Can those of you online see this okay?
Yeah, it looks fine.
You're on? Okay. All right, cool. Thanks, Jim. Okay, so the Tableau conference was super rad. If anybody doesn't know, it was like a long time ago, but it was basically like end of April, first part of May. It was like 3 weeks ago in San Diego, California, which is way colder than I thought it was going to be out there. Yeah, it was cold. And I'm a Minnesotan, so like I'm not just being a weenie. Okay, so just a couple of numbers here. Looks like they had over 6,000 data fan members. It's always so hard to tell how many people are actually there when you're there. It could have been half that. It could have been 3 times that. But everything is just so spread out. It didn't ever feel like it was overly crowded, with the exception of maybe like one of the little user community meetups. But yeah, it was a great time. And look I'm in this picture. I didn't even know it. Way down the lower right-hand corner. I'm glad I didn't wear that same outfit today. That would have been embarrassing. But yeah, so it's really about celebrating together of these people and, hearing from Tableau what's new and learning from the developers. So I'm going to kind of just start with some of the key announcements. The way that they break this up is there are messages from Tableau or Salesforce, like messages from corporate that are on point and very polished, and like they're it's what they want you to know and what they want you to be excited about. And then you hear from more of like the developers, like the product developers, those who are actually actively working on the features that have been voted and like trying to give the people what they want. Those sessions are always much more well received than just like the corporate messaging. So I'm going to kind of start with that, and then we'll get into like what I consider to be the more fun stuff. And feel free to shout out, interject, those of you guys that participated in person or online. I do not mind the commentary. It's more fun if it's conversation rather than me just kind of talking at everybody. So as far as the corporate messaging was really all about AI-enabled features. So things like Tableau Pulse, the Einstein Copilot. I feel like that these messages have been pounded out there quite a bit by Tableau. So if anybody wants more information about these things, let me know. But I think the long and short of it is the possibilities are really cool. very amazing. You need to have your shit together in order to leverage this, right? Like, if you weren't thinking about data management and data governance beforehand, and you want to do AI stuff with your data, it's not a plug and play. You have to do some work. So, but really amazing opportunities, right? Like, that should be motivation for everyone to get your crap together.
Is our March session on like our YouTube channel? I don't remember.
They are, well, I want to say they're all on there, but
Okay.
now I don't want to say it because I might
Okay.
have forgotten to do that one. If it's not, I will make sure that it is.
Yeah, the reason this give prior to the conference session, we actually have 2 presentations about AI.
Yeah.
And one from Tableau and one from one of my colleagues at Doherty, just about like how this looks and how it feels. So
Yeah, that one focused on Pulse mainly,
yeah,
right?
if you want to see more hands-on with like, what AI is, how Tableau and Salesforce are looking at it, and what Pulse looks like, that content may or may not be on our YouTube channel already.
Yeah, it will be. It's not, it will be, promise. Speaking of getting your crap together, apparently I need to get mine. So just like the main difference between Pulse and Copilot is that Pulse is all about like really quickly creating and identifying metrics that you care about, and just kind of keeping a finger on that pulse, keeping a beat on that particular metric in like a really quick way. So it's like you open up Tableau, that's in your face. You've got the history, you've got all that stuff. Einstein is more about, that's more like the large language model behind Tableau, where you can ask or type in questions in normal human language and get responses back from your data in normal human language. So super cool stuff, but it does require some work. The data cloud, this is their response to the growing need to have just enormous amounts of data available in flexible formats in the cloud. Not a lot more to say on that. They did mention that they are expanding their partnership with Microsoft to the tune of like embedding some of those AI, the Copilot features into things like Teams. So the idea is that it would be embedded into our workflows, because like, I think the reality is that most businesses operate on some sort of Microsoft platform. Lee, go ahead.
Serena, are they using like a licensed version of Copilot for Microsoft and then porting that over into Tableau, or is it their own flavor, their own developed?
That's a great question. So as far as I know, Tableau's Copilot is completely separate than Microsoft's Copilot. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was some language between lawyers about that particular name choice. But Tableau built Copilot, Microsoft built their Copilot. The two are very separate. The integration of Tableau's Copilot into Microsoft products is a separate thing than Microsoft's Copilot. So that's as far as I know. I am not an expert. I just play one on TV, like Betsy said. But good question. Like, why add that level of confusion? Just why? Okay. And so in full transparency, like, this deck was huge. I deleted a lot of what I thought was just like fluffy Tableau messages, and I want to like get down to the brass tacks of the stuff that I thought you guys would actually care about. So if this feels a little bit disjointed or jumping around, like, I cut some stuff. One of the cool things I thought was the ability to save things to your desktop while working in Tableau Public. So it used to be that, you do all this stuff and then you wouldn't have anywhere to save your work in draft form other than to publish it up to Tableau, the Tableau Public. And you definitely could always set things to be private, but it's kind of like, you know, I don't know if you ever take your laptop into the bathroom or anything like that, and you're just like, I'm going to shut that camera because I just don't trust it. It's a little bit like that. Like, this is so, I just don't want anyone to see my work like this, that I don't even want to publish it up there. So just to kind of quell people's concerns about that, you can just save it locally. You can continue to work on it, and then when you're ready, you can publish that up to Tableau Public for everyone to see. Go ahead.
Sorry, is this the same as Tableau Server or something?
So Tableau Public is like so think of it as, it's kind of like Tableau Cloud. It's a completely hosted solution, but Tableau Public is like the free version of Tableau Cloud. So like, let's say, it's really to try to make it accessible for anyone and everyone. So you can actually download a desktop version of Tableau and connect it to data sources just like you would, build stuff, and you can publish your work to Tableau Public. And that, for a lot of people in the data fam, they will use it as kind of like a digital resume or portfolio. So they can build stuff, they can publish it to their Tableau Public portfolio, and then people can go and look at their work and see what they're capable of. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and kind of, I've also been thinking about this whole Power BI stuff. In July, we're going to no longer have it on our
Okay.
desktops. So
Yeah, so
just thinking about
like Power BI comes with so I think Power BI, anybody can download Power BI, right? Especially if you have any kind of Microsoft Office license.
Comes with all 365.
Yeah, it comes with all the 365 stuff. And what you get with that is a personal workspace, like it's hosted. So I think it was Tableau's effort to kind of draw some parallels and parity with that particular offering, because I don't know, let's just say you're like the average, like, you're just Serena and I like want to download my personal finances and like figure out how much money I'm spending on eating out or, toilet paper or whatever. I could use Power BI to do that and use my personal workspace to do that. And I could share it with my husband, like that kind of a thing. Tableau Public, these new features with Tableau Public are meant to draw some parities with that. So, good question. Yeah, so just like to further clarify, there's Tableau Server, which is like on-prem. It's an unhosted version of Tableau. You have Tableau Cloud, which is the hosted paid version of Tableau. And then you've got Tableau Public, which is free for the public. So there's the three.
Yeah, you can only use it for like file-based data sources. You can't connect it to like an enterprise database.
Right.
It's really just meant for you to get exposed to the product and build.
Yeah.
It's a way for you to learn how to use an otherwise expensive product without spending money on it.
Did you guys use Tableau Public during school, or did you have a paid version?
You can use both. So in academics, there's kind of three ways you can do it. So they have the 1-year license for academic institutions, going back to that, enabling 10 million people by 27.
Yep.
Part of that. You can also use Tableau Public desktop version.
Yep.
And then there's also semester-based academic licenses. So if you're taking a class, and for
Sure.
example, this semester I took a visualization class, and it was pretty much like you have a license for the next 6 months during the course as you're using Tableau. And then afterwards, if you still want to use it, you can go to use Tableau Public Desktop Edition. So
Yep.
it's flexible that way.
Yep, okay, that makes sense. All right. Good questions, good conversation. All right, let's see. Paul was mentioning he's excited about Viz extensions. This again, I think, was an attempt to, draw some parallels and parity with Power BI. If anyone has used Power BI, there's essentially like I forget what they call it, but you go to this library and you can, it's like an app store for data visualization. You can go out and you can leverage other people's work, and sometimes it's free and sometimes it's paid. But it's to reduce the amount of time that people have to spend starting from scratch, building things like really complex Sankey diagrams, some just crazy stuff like violin charts, dandelion, whatever, all of the cool stuff. So I'll just like name drop Tristan. I just can never pronounce his last name right. He's French, so it's like Guyon. We'll just go with that. But he's sorry, Tristan, if you ever end up watching this. He is like the king of Tableau extensions. So if you guys do get out there and start searching for Viz extensions in that library, definitely look for his or he's an incredible guy.
So is there a charge for the extensions?
I'm gonna say like yes, but I would expect most of them to have a fee, but some of them will probably be free. Yeah.
Because I guess maybe I'm just confused, but I mean there was like an extension button already where you could go through and pull them in, you know? So it's just there's more available, but then
Yeah.
you click on it and then figure out a payment plan versus like downloading it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't profess to know exactly, like, is it like a one-time deal and then you just have that extension for forever, or if there is like a subscription. I haven't played around with it yet, but I think the main idea is that now they've created this process to allow more people to develop extensions to be available in this library. And I think that they just try to get out of the way of how people charge for that and let them do that in a way that sees, that works for them. And of course will take a cut of it, would be my guess. So.
And I think a lot of the extensions that came out before were mostly integration stuff with data sources or web stuff or whatever. Now they're bringing more visuals, kind of extending the show me pane in a way into other complex stuff.
Yeah. So now it's like you will buy or add on one of these Viz extensions, and then that's available in your Show Me library going forward to just, I need a Sankey diagram, boop, drag your pills, and boom, you're done. So it's like
take your pills.
Yeah, take your pills.
This is Betsy. I have a question on those extensions. So if your Tableau server is behind a firewall, and can you use those extensions? Because I thought I heard something about it has to go out and authenticate that you have permission to use the extension. And so that was the first question that popped into my mind when I heard that. So do you know anything about that?
It's a great question. I don't know the answer. I'm gonna open it up to.
Your Tableau admin will be able to set the settings for what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Okay.
By default, extensions are off, but you can either allow all extensions
or
allow like only ones that are built by Tableau.
Authorize, or can they authorize an extension on a 1-by-1 basis or something? Because I don't know if they'd want to just authorize all extensions. I mean, we can look into it. I just didn't know if anybody in this meeting knew.
Yeah, you can whitelist them.
Okay.
All right. So talk to IT before we get, invest in that. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, I haven't played around with those yet, but I need to. All right. Has anybody these shared dimensions? Has anybody played around with those yet? Or have identified a good use case? Like, I've been waiting for this.
Are you able to explain what it is? I'm reading the thing.
Yeah. So it looks like you create, it's almost like an attempt to certify, I mean, I don't want to say master data because that's probably too far, but to say, if someone creates a dimension and is like, this is the gold standard for when you need to measure across this particular dimension, use this one and you can share that across different data sources rather than going through that verification vetting process per data source. That's how I understand that it's, yeah, definitely like a data management, data governance feature. So I think there's probably more to come on that as people actually start to use this and see the benefit of it.
I kind of feel like this ties into what you said about like, you need to have your shit together for the extensions. Like, this seems like a downstream solution for what is an upstream problem. Like, shouldn't the dimension be defined in the database as opposed to in Tableau?
Well, perhaps, yes.
Yeah, this will let you data model more flexibly, whereas like you could use in like the, what are they called, the noodles or whatever, you could go one dimension or one-to-one kind of like a date to a single date. Now you can reuse that date over and over to do. It's kind of like another response to Microsoft Power BI's like data modeling capability.
Okay, I've always felt like Tableau was way better at that kind of stuff than Power BI anyway. Yeah, but I think you're right, Emily. It's like, it's meant to help people have less redundancy within their data sources and offer a way to, you know, say, hey, this is approved, this has been vetted, use this one. So we'll have a more in-depth session on this one in the future. The Data Connect, right? Like, this is trying to address the need for people to blend on-prem data sources with private data in the cloud. I think we have all run into use cases. So this is just aimed at making it easier to do that, getting through firewalls and not having to use bridge. And right, I think we've all been waiting for the day where we can just shut bridge down and never look at it again. So, and that one is available now. Actually, before I get into the IronViz stuff, and I was actually really surprised that they didn't have a particular slide for this, because this was the feature that I think the most people got most excited for. Steven knows what I'm going to say. Do you want to say it?
The composable data models.
Well, like, we might be saying the same thing, but the ability to model the published data sources. Yeah, you used to not be able to model together published data sources in Tableau. You were just like, oh, too bad. You want to join those two? Too bad. Do that somewhere else. Go get Tableau prep and come back. You can do that now. And I was just like, where is the slide that talks about that particular feature?
What do you mean by published data sources? Like a file that was on your computer as opposed to a database connection?
Anything really, like when you get into Tableau desktop, you connect to a data source, you build your dashboard, you publish that, and as you publish, you have the option to publish the underlying data source along with it. You can also just publish a data source without it being connected to a dashboard, but it's, you've taken that data from its source target and done some stuff to it, right? And created calculations, whatever, and then you can publish that enhanced version of that data set, and to Tableau Cloud or to Tableau Server. So like, imagine you're you're the superstore, and you've got a published data set for your products, and you've got a published data set for your customers. And now you can actually take those two and join them without having to do that join and aggregation and manipulation outside of Tableau somewhere else. So the ability to just kind of take a like a conceptual or a logical data model, replicate that in Tableau with clean, certified, or like data that you feel good about, and then you can model those components together using the right, primary keys and joins and all that stuff, following those data models, rather than having to work with your IT, your database admin people, and or bring things into Alteryx or like whatever, house that somewhere else. You can do that all right inside Tableau. So super cool. It's just like, it's more power and more flexibility in the hands of the developer. So in the spirit of just moving fast and furious, you can do all that right there. So. All right, IronViz. Really quickly, just in case there's anybody that doesn't know what IronViz is, it is like its namesake is the Iron Chef. That was like, it's the whole premise. It's the Iron Chef version of building Tableau dashboards called IronViz. They have feeder competitions leading up to the Tableau Conference, where they whittle down to 3 people that end up competing live on stage in front of tens of thousands of people, and who knows, because it's online as well. This year we had Jessica Moon, we had Peta Gogova, and Chris Westlake who took first place. So they get 20 minutes to build a dashboard in front of all these people. The caveat here is that they actually get the data sets about a month in advance, and they can do any kind of data prep that they need to do to that data, get familiar with it. They can practice their build. They can, keep a list of the custom calculations that they create and just drag them over. So they can do all of these things ahead of time to make it possible for them to build these incredible dashboards in 20 minutes. It's still an incredible feat, and I will never aspire to do, like, I will pay you $10,000 if I never have to do it. Lee?
Were they using any of the new bells and whistles?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's part of how they grade these things or score these things is like, are they taking advantage of some of the new features in Tableau? So like when they came out with the visibility zones and like the containers and all that stuff, if people use those newer features, they got extra points for that. So all of them did an amazing job. And so we've got Nkosi here, and they do a sort of a student version of that. And he was one of the 3. There are 3, yes, right? Three finalists. So in just a moment, I'll have him come up here and talk to us about what that experience was like. But I just like, so Chris Westlake, he did an amazing job and he deserved to win. But like, I'll just like tiny bit of a soapbox on IronViz is that, so Jessica Moon, she's got like 3 kids. They're young. Like, she's a mom. She's a working mom. She's freaking busy. And Pata, English is not her first language. And each of the contestants get 3 minutes to explain their viz and what they did and what it meant to them. And so, I don't know. I just like, I think that if we don't address the fact that, like, just because things are equal doesn't mean that they're equitable. So, right? Like, how about we give some moms like maybe an extra week with the data, and like the person who doesn't speak English, like an extra minute to give their presentation. So, like I said, Chris did a great job. He had a fabulous dashboard. I would just like to see a little bit more equity in the way that they run that. So, Nkosi, you want to come up and talk about this?
Sure thing.
All right.
Oh, wow. I don't speak in front of a lot of people in general, just to start there. Hello, everyone, just to be clear. My name is Nkosi. I was fortunate enough to be invited to be at the Tableau Conference this year, part of the Student IronViz. I think it started in 2019. In terms of the experience, it was truly amazing. All the people you see on stage here, like, they're pretty cool. Like, afterwards, like, I think we were there for about 3 days. So like, there's rehearsals prior, like, just to ensure that what you say on stage, you practice properly. So we spent a lot of time with like the people you see here in the picture. In terms of like just being there, it's something else because like we went from practicing like in one of the hotel rooms to actually practicing during the dress rehearsal the day of, I think on the Monday, this was on the Tuesday. And you kind of see like the difference because in a hotel room there's just like less than 20 people there.
Yeah.
And then you get to the main stage, the main like hall, and they were practicing like their sound and it was very loud. And I was like, I've never stood here like or been to something this big. And then I asked one of the production managers how many people, how many seats there are. And she was like, not a lot, just I think 3,000 or something. And then the Salesforce employees were watching in the data village on like a big screen. And I was like, that is a lot of people. There's like upwards of 6,000 as the slide said there. So it was something like to, even though we only spoke for like a minute, like if you go in and watch IronViz, I think it's the last 15 minutes, that's when they brought out the students. There was three of us, myself, Jane Kamada, and Shinran Pen. Two great individuals that I also met at the conference. Got to meet all the people here.
Did they tell you about the Bam Bams ahead of time?
No, they didn't actually tell us
No?
about the band.
Okay.
We just heard them in the back, at the back, like in the green room, and like we're all sitting in the green room, and I'd say it was a surreal experience because I think the first IronViz I watched was 22. Will Sutton won. He did some cool stuff,
Yeah.
and I also watched Paul Ross's last year, and to actually be in the vicinity of like some of those people, Paul Ross, Andy Cotgreave and his jokes, Chana, all the people that you see there, as well as the supervisors. I also did get to speak to the supervisors. My favorite probably was JP, Chris's supervisor, and also Peter, Pada's supervisor. I didn't speak much to Kim, but she seemed cool as well as Jessica. But all in all, I think IronViz, like for someone who's actually never been to a conference, to actually this one being your first conference was just something else. Like just being there, because I remember backstage, like when one of the production managers was like, "Oh, y'all are up next," and you could just hear the sound of the people, and you're like, "Well, am I gonna go stand at the right place because there's certain places you stand at, and are you gonna articulate the way you expect to articulate?" That was something. So in terms of like the IronViz thing, it was pretty amazing. I think afterwards, like there was data night out, so like we just went out to this great location. I don't know if you know the name of it, Serena.
Yeah, it was called the Rady Shell.
Yeah, the radio show.
Yes.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So in terms of like as we were just it was Jane and I, and we were just walking around, and it was it was such a touching moment to just see like a lot of people just come up to you and say congratulations, and like it takes a lot for like a student to stand in front of 6,000 people and just talk, even though it was pre-rehearsed, but like to just speak in front of that and feel confident, like that they were pretty much happy with like that was pretty much like a great moment for me. Like I think now I can retire from Tableau. I think I've done it all now. So I've reached the pinnacle. So in terms of that, but also like actually that's when I actually met Serena, funny enough, at Data Night Out, and I'd also been a member of this Tableau user group virtually for the last, I think since 21.
You're creeping in the corners.
Yeah, I was there. I'm also a subscriber of the YouTube channel, even when you moved off of the Tableau user group to the Twin Cities one on YouTube. Like I'm still subscribed. Have it on catch up. I'll be
You're that
watching this
subscriber.
summer. So in terms of like just IronViz, the whole thing as a whole, I want to go to sessions, but like we didn't get enough time to go to sessions. Like most of the time was dedicated to IronViz, but I wouldn't trade that for anything. Like in an experience that you actually just see like what they're coming up with in terms of like what they're building, and to actually see all of that in action in person. It's different when you're sitting at your house or you're sitting in the crowd, and then you're going to a position where now it's kind of changed and you're now on the other side and you're now part of the production, and it's kind of like a different experience, and you're just like, wow, this is different. And then also to actually like, for those who don't know, I did spend a bit of time working with Tableau previously at Optum, so loved everything about it there prior to actually going to St. Thomas. I'd say the one big thing that I think also just the entire conference, apart from just IronViz and just in general, was definitely meeting people. Remember talking to JP and Serena actually about this, and I was like, you know, they say in life, never meet your heroes, but once I met the people at the Tableau community, like the Tableau community, the data fam as they're affectionately known, that was far from like the truth, because like everyone was just so amazing, like just walking up to them, just so open, like great individuals like that I spoke to. And actually like when you, because like for the most part, like I've seen some of their stuff on Tableau Public and wonder how exactly did he do this complicated stuff, design features, like starting to use just going back to the Figma to Tableau plugin, like to actually see how they use that, actually using Figma, using Tableau and combining all of those features and doing advanced stuff that you're like, I don't know how this is built. Because I actually remember talking to Chris about his radial, I don't even know what it's called. It was very complicated. Like it was, he didn't draw the episodes because it was data plus TV. He didn't draw like the episodes on like a line chart. He had curved it.
I think if you scroll to the next slide, I
Oh,
think
the
there's
next slide.
some.
Is it this one?
Maybe
they
they
skipped it.
Maybe they didn't capture the right view of it.
Yeah, so there's like after this, when you click the select a series to begin, it shows like
It's a curve, yeah.
a curved,
It's a curved bar chart.
yeah, a curve. I don't know what it is, but it was pretty amazing. And then you actually just talk to him like afterwards, like what he thought about it and like how he built it. It's just amazing. Like the level of complexity that goes into it, and also just the other aspect, like the sous vises as well, like in terms of like the work they're doing with the contestant was something else. So all in all, it was one great experience, like just being there and just meeting all these people and learning quite a lot from like a lot of them, like people that you followed their work 2 to 3 years, and to actually meet them in person and actually have a conversation with them and just be just generally interested in just what they have to say and like what's next, and like that was very exciting for me.
Does the Student IronViz, do they do like, obviously it's not going to be as big as that, right? But you know, they feeder competitions, and then there is that final competition where you're building a dashboard live, or no?
Fortunately not right now.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. I don't think I could do something even if it was at the student level. So I believe in 23, just after the window closed for IronViz, I think in November or December, I know the deadline was December, because I remember on Christmas Day opening Tableau, like I need to get my viz ready because it was due on the 31st. So for the student edition, it's kind of different. I don't know, I think they actually do give you a data set. So for us, since they were working with the data plus movies data set this year, they were like, go visualize something.
So you guys had the same data set?
No, we had a different, they had data plus TV. We did data plus movies.
Yep.
So the initial one they did last summer, the Data Plus Movies Challenge, where you got a free T-shirt. Hopefully they do the same thing this year. I did like that T-shirt. So pretty much they have a window like for a month where you pretty much just submit your visualization on Tableau Public. You fill out the form. And then they select the 3 winners, and fortunately enough, I was one of the winners with Jane and Shinran.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can we pull your viz up?
Yeah, sure you can.
Okay, here, I'll help.
It's gonna be awkward, but yeah, sure you can.
We want to see this, right?
Yeah.
When you do that, I guess I was thinking it was like the bigger visualization. Kind of, not just terrifies me. You just, when you came up, you said you're not accustomed to speaking in front of people. But what made you think, okay, let me enter? How did you manage your nerves?
Great question. It was, I don't know. I think the biggest one was I just wanted to go learn, number one. Like I'd learned, like it's actually like I'd actually like watched a lot of like I'm a big YouTube watcher, so I pretty much like watched a lot of Tableau user groups and people doing a lot of cool stuff in like Tableau and stuff like that. So it's this one right here.
The Black Panther one?
Yep.
Okay.
So pretty much just seeing a lot of stuff being done in Tableau plus Figma, and I'd seen quite a lot of that. And I was like, new features like dynamic zone visibility, URL actions, show height containers. I think Kimberly Scott did 21 when she was in IronViz. So that was very interesting. That was pretty much my thing. I never expected to win. It was just more or less just, let me put up my work out there, see what happens. Because that was like literally this is and still remains my only visual in Tableau Public. More coming this summer, but
I only have one out there too.
so pretty much for my one, like funny enough, I actually spent less time on this visual, like less time in Tableau. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but I'll say it anyway.
Safe space.
Less time in Tableau, but more time in Figma, because like, I don't know, just the moment I actually got introduced to Figma by Kevin V over at Discover. He's pretty good in Figma, and it's pretty much just like Tableau, but just for design. And once you start to incorporate that, like you can create a bar chart that's cool, and or you can create like a container with like the core, with like the edges, but there's just something about like rounded corners and things like that. I think they showcased it in one of the devs on stage, the Figma to Tableau plugin, where it just went from an ordinary dashboard to a cool dashboard with just Figma and just color and design and things like that, which I found to be amazing.
Corners is a formatting option now, isn't it? Or am I making that up?
I know it is on annotations because my visual either use annotations, so I kind of did use that.
Like on the bars themselves, I thought there was like a round corner. I could be making it up, guys.
So for this visual, when I look back on it now, I think there's some stuff that I would improve definitely.
Yeah. Well, give us a tour.
So this was all designed in Figma, as I mentioned, and then like I overlaid a lot of things. So for example, like this is a tooltip for both of these, and these are bands. I'm not going to say what that means. Bands. You can do some research on it to know what it means.
The G-rated version is big angry number.
Okay, wonderful. So pretty much here, I overlaid a transparent image on top of this visual that was available in the data set using I think a URL go-to action. That was pretty cool. So that's what I did. And then I kind of like, I would say, just decided to, I think Brittany once mentioned it in her, I think, her story when she was talking in IronViz 23, like Steal Like an Artist. So I pretty much just went to Tableau Public and looked up Data Plus Movies, and then just saw a lot of visuals about Data Plus Movies, and I was like, these are cool ideas. How do I incorporate some of them? Because like there weren't a lot of numerical features in this data set, like in terms of like numerical columns. So you kind of had to get creative. So the ones that I found and the inspiration I got from like a lot of people from Tableau Public, funny enough, Jessica's one that she had built, and Lindsay Betzendahl, like I found those to be interesting. So try to incorporate some of those. So pretty much just started to like play around with some of those numerical features. And then as you scroll through here, I looked at like film ratings over time, mainly focusing on Black Panther. Funny enough, I actually haven't watched the second Black Panther, but I actually did a visual around that. So that was pretty interesting. So just looking at it amongst the Marvel universe, how it performed in terms of just ratings, Marvel and Disney. That mainly Marvel, because when you think of Black Panther, you think of Marvel. Funny enough, in this data set, it's also listed as Disney, and I'll show you later on. And then as we scroll through, I did like this feature on like what the ratings were, and to actually see what the movies were like at the top in terms of like what are the top Marvel movies. So your standard bar chart here, and I also did start to incorporate something I had learned, flat icons, using icons to actually show stuff rather than the standard filter. That works, but I think you can take it up a notch. So things like that. So like just going through and just some sort of animation or interactivity if it works. Oh, there we go. Wonderful. just scrolling through that. Then as you scroll through, pretty much the same. I think my favorite thing and my favorite feature is definitely dynamic zone visibility, because this scatter plot is using dynamic zones. So you can see here, we're looking at average number, looking at number of votes on this x-axis. So if I click that, of course, it won't change, but if I click duration, it changes. And I found that to be pretty cool, like the fact that you can now take containers, put them in the same container, and then put like two sheets, and then using a parameter actions and just open and close them based on whatever you click. I found that to be cool. So they say if it's cool, you can use it more than once. I used it again here. So like same thing. Nothing changes because this is Marvel. So when you click Disney, it changes and things like that. I found that to be pretty amazing. And then
It
last,
also drives consistency, which I think is important. Like you say, like, this is how we're going to do this,
Yep.
right? And then people start to expect that behavior from your dashboards.
Exactly.
So
And then here, I couldn't do a pie chart because pie charts are very controversial from what I hear, even in the academic setting. So I definitely couldn't do a pie chart. So I was like, let me do its cousin, the donut chart, just to show like pot to whole differences based on the cast and stuff like that. And that was pretty cool. And the last two here things I want to show, actually three.
Did you include Black Panther too?
Uh, yeah, so this is the black. I could have done it. See, I could have done a better job here. So this one is the first Black Panther, and then this one is the second one. That's what you're referring to.
Yeah, because there's a huge difference.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last two things here I want to show is, I don't know if I should click into this, but when you click this, it's a URL action that takes you to like the IMDb page. Pata actually did something similar with her visual, which I found to be cool. And this one, I pretty much wanted to do like from the beginning, and hopefully I'll start doing it more of my visuals, like just sources in general, because I've seen a lot of people actually put sources and then just put like an icon, then you hover over and have the sources, then you don't get a full image of what exactly are they using. So I wanted to go a different route, actually have like a page. I could have done a better job at this, but like have a page where it just shows like where I actually got most of the stuff I'm using to actually build this visual and what tools I was using, because like sometimes like you speak to a lot of people like, how did you do that? And you're like, it's this, but I found it on this YouTube channel by this certain individual. I found it in this book that I was reading or on this blog post or things like that. So really does for me help in that regard.
great job of giving credit where credit is due. Where that gets tricky is that like you don't know, like sometimes like by now, like that could be 7 layers deep, from the original person, but the effort I think is what counts. So as long as you're giving it a go, like, you're good.
Yep. And the last thing, which I think was probably like the trickiest, is just the export image, because when you look at this, like the black background and the purple parts, that's all being done on like a Figma background image, and then it's being like the charts and all the text or text objects or like sheets overlaid on top in Tableau. So just trying to I spent a lot of time resizing that, just trying to get it on top to fit, because it looks cool on my second screen when I do it in Figma, and I'm like, this is working. And then when I take that, I'm like, put it in Tableau, and it's squints and it's just all over the place. And I'm like, wow, this is not working. So I need to go resize. So there's a lot of that. One of the few things that I think I'll be improving going forward. So for me, I think that was like the best aspect around like just this whole entire experience. And pretty much, I think that kind of answers your initial question on like why I went through this journey. It's like just to see something come to life, and I'd look at it some days and I'd look at like, I think I created a masterpiece here, but that's just for me personally. But I don't know if the entire world would take it that way, and then to actually see it being recognized, I think was truly amazing, because even the other stuff the other students did, like there were some that I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like that didn't win, but like I was like, when I saw mine, I was like, oh, maybe it'll be top 10 or top something. It'll do something, but to actually see it selected, I think was pretty cool in that regard.
Yeah, well, I think paying attention and spending more time on the design aspect of it paid off, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it isn't about all the fancy, just the numbers. Sometimes it's truly about just like whatever information is there, is it easily consumable for humans based on those natural heuristics that we have. So good job.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Does anybody else have any questions for Nkosi here or online?
Oh yes, I think Rolly mentioned like DataViz. That's where like
Oh yeah,
most of
Tristan's
the
website. Thank
yeah
you.
most of the stuff lives, like in terms of like Figma extensions. I've started using it. It's pretty cool. Like if you're interested in just going down a rabbit hole, definitely visit the DataViz. Yeah.
The DataViz. Tristan's a great guy.
So yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks, Nkosi. Okay, let me stop sharing and pop back over to this other screen real quick. Oh, that one. All right, so I know you guys kind of saw Nkosi scrolled through these, but these were the dashboards that the 3 IronViz finalists created. So Chris, this was the winning dashboard. We had Jessica Moon, who focused on this, like trying to find the right kind of TV shows, like for you. She was rating it on a sweet meter because Jessica is just, she's a sweet gal. So it made sense that she would take that angle. And then this was Kata's, and she focused on the women's representation in TV throughout history, kind of where we started and where we are now. It's very cool. And she did, a lot of this. Like, it was very heavy on design. She spent a lot of time trying to make it look cool, and some of her interactions actually looked like it was the TV, like the buttons on the TV or like a remote. It was really neat. So just a quick plug. This data set, the Data Plus Movies or the Data Plus TV data sets, they're really fun. It's just such a relatable, broad topic that if you were looking for a data set to go play around with and build some cool Tableau visualizations, you can go out and grab one of these starter dashboards. There's an extract of some kind. Probably multiple different data extracts in these different dashboards. I don't think that IMDb has made like a hosted version of this data like publicly accessible, but there are at least versions of this data that you can get access to from Tableau Public. So go play. The rest of my slides here are just some really cool numbers, right? Like the 400,000 questions answered on the Tableau forums, the 500 plus community blogs, 500 plus community groups. The data fam is strong and pretty incredible. And here's some Diego and Kimley and Alice they're great ambassadors for the data fam. So what is it? 9 million Tableau public visualizations, literally 9 million dashboards on Tableau Public. Only one of them is 9. The other cool thing about Tableau Conference this year is that so many of the sessions didn't have a single person from Tableau speaking. They were truly people from the community sharing their insights and the work that they do. It was, and that was in response to the year before where it was just too much. It was like, felt too much like a Salesforce commercial. And so they listened and they really backed off on that. And there were just an enormous amount of community-led sessions. And the great thing is that a lot of them are available on demand on Salesforce Plus. You do just have to create a free account to get access to them. But you know, if you find yourself with half hour, 30 minutes, you know, half hour, an hour of downtime, go, you know, browse some of these sessions and find something that piques your interest. These should be available for, I mean, a long while. Probably not for forever, but a long while. I think there are still some sessions from last year's conference that are available on Salesforce On Demand too. So, just, yeah. And Tableau Conference, if you guys get the opportunity to go. It is such a great experience. It's such a great way to feel really part of that community. Even if, you know, there are people that self-fund it, right? They're just like, I'm going no matter what, if you can't get your employer to pay for it. There are people that find that much value in it. Obviously, I know that's not possible for some people, but do what you can to get there. That's my plug. It is going to be in San Diego again next year. They said potentially maybe the summertime, but my preference would be no, because I think that's just going to be harder for moms to come because our kids are out of school. So we'll see. But right now, San Diego, potentially summer. Jim, do you want to add anything? Is there anything I didn't cover?
No, I think that was good.
Was there anybody who watched any live sessions while it was going on virtually, or had that virtual experience with the Tableau conference and that would like to share what that was like? Emily, Lee?
I watched it. I watched some stuff virtually, including the Flurlage.
Flurlage.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a name that takes practice. And
It
then,
is.
And then once you get it, you get it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Can you guys hear Emily okay? From all the way back there? Online?
I can talk louder. But I watched some sessions and I was impressed at, honestly, the technology side of things, like how smooth it was. Like it would go from a session into an interview. And it's like, I know that they didn't just go from the stage into the interview. So the interview was pre-taped, but they had that slotted in there. And I mean, that's not super relevant to us in this room. Like, you know, just the production quality.
Well, I feel like that matters. And some of those, I know some of those interviews did happen live.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were just camera switching.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It was fun to watch from home. And I thought some of the tips were good. And I'm really glad that the sessions, I can go back and revisit the sessions. Because I know that there was a session I liked about how to up your game with tables. And, you know, I wasn't going to build a table right then and there, but I know next time I build a table, I'm going to go back to that session and remind myself of what the tips were, because there were some good ones.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks. Lee, go ahead.
Kudos to Augsburg University.
Please say more.
Well, because that is the university where the CEO of Tableau graduated.
Oh.
And he's from around here. I believe he's from the nearby.
Mr. Ryan Ate, that guy? Okay.
He was.
Yeah. I did not know that he went to, maybe I did.
Look him up on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay.
Tell the whole story. Minneapolis. Who would be?
Represent. See, we have got a strong representation of Data Fam here. He's got some incredible talent. We just need to get them here more often. Yeah, trying to think if there's anything else that important that I could share. I felt like there was less walking this year than in Las Vegas. That always feels like, wow, I literally walked 25 miles I think it was last year. Logged 25 miles in like 4 days. Go ahead.
I recall at the same meeting a year ago, it was more like the vibe was subdued, if not a little bit disillusionment. And for too much noise, too much commotion, not enough focus at the conference.
Yeah.
Competing, one group is over here, another group is over here, another group is over here in the same banquet room.
Yep.
And confusion. And also the certain, like, we don't know where Tableau is going vis-a-vis Salesforce and with the technology and AI is coming in and oh gosh, how's that going to affect us and so on and so forth. But we really don't hear that now. Everything, it sounds like there's a role for everybody, plenty of room to grow.
Yeah.
So.
I think that I would give some credit to Tableau for at least the perception of listening to some of that feedback. I think the overarching theme last year was that it didn't feel like Tableau anymore. It felt too much like Salesforce. And it was like, for these people who are just like, don't take that from me, I identify with this, it felt very scary and threatening. And so, there weren't the, like Salesforce is all about those big mascots, like there weren't, people walking around in those giant costumes everywhere you turned. It had a very Tableau, like almost like an old school, like a throwback Tableau vibe. And I think that was really intentional. They heard that feedback and took it to heart. And all of the community-led sessions and just the focus on the community was really prevalent this year. I think we all really appreciated that. Although I think there are still some people who are, with this push in AI, some people thinking about like, well, where does that leave my job as an analyst? And so I think there's probably still some navigating of that message to do, like while we're pushing AI and its capabilities, like letting these developers know where their skill sets are applicable and valuable, and where they should be looking to add value. If AI can just do it, right? So, awesome. Well, I think we're right on time. That took up the whole entire session, so I don't have to pull any content out of my back pocket, which is good.
Save it for next time.
Yeah, we'll save it for next time. So, yeah, thank you guys for joining online, wherever you may be. Thank you to, for those of you guys in the room. And flip my camera around. We actually ended up with a, fairly decent crew in the room, but I'd like to see that, triple or quadruple next time. So just a reminder, our next Tableau user group meeting is June 27th. It's going to be at the rooftop venue or area of the Bridgewater Bank in St. Louis Park. It's just going to be a social only event, no content. So drinks and food and fun. So I hope to see you all there, or those of you that that can make it in person. And then we'll be back in July with our hybrid, maybe here again. So, all right, everybody, have a good rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, Serena.
We'll see you.